what's good, YouTube? In today's video, we're going over the top 5 meta loadouts you guys need to be using here after the update. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so the first gun we are going to be getting into here today is going to be the SVA 545, because I feel like it'd be absolutely criminal if I did not give you guys pretty much the best primary AR in the game to use here off rip. So let's get into it. And by the way, you're going to be using this in the burst mode, aka the single fire, because it fires 2 shots at once. That is how you make this thing truly the most effective it can actually be. So first thing in here, we're actually going to go and add a suppressor. We're not going to go for that VT7, which is our standard. We're going to go for the sonic suppressor to keep us off the radar, help with our bullet velocity and damage range. It shows that it gives us a little bit of that negative recoil, which is not too big of an issue. What we really care about here is the effective damage range, bullet velocity, all that sort of stuff. We get an increase here more so on the bullet velocity than we would with the regular VT7. And so you're going to feel a lot more hit scan when you have the sonic suppressor coupled with these other attachments. So that's why we got that on there. Barrel section, the STV precision barrel. This is pretty standard. There's no other good barrels in here, so you don't want to use anything else. You only want to use the STV precision. Now down into the ammunition side of things, we're skipping the underbarrel. What we're going to do is we're going to go through on the 5.45 high grain rounds. And what this does is when you couple that with the suppressor, the barrel, we get an over 1100 meter per second bullet velocity, which is fantastic, and increase our overall effective damage range out to that 43.1 meters, making it so that our first damage profile drop off is at that 43. So you're gonna be able to down people super quick, and your minimum is at 70 meters, which is awesome, great for those long distance shots. So 100% should be around the high grain rounds. Now magazine, we're gonna go down here and throw on the 60 round mag. This is one of those guns where I think realistically speaking, you could get away with running a 45 instead of the 60 because you're not running it in fully automatic. If you're running this gun in fully automatic, I mean, if you're not really good with recoil control, you're gonna have to differentiate the build up. But overall, you should be running the 60 round mag here, just kind of regardless. But you could technically, if you wanted more mobility, get away with running the 45. Just keep in mind, I'd recommend the 60 overall. Lastly, optic section, throwing that jack glassless. This is just the perfect optic to run on resurgence maps. Even on big map, it's still really good. If you want something with a little bit more distance, go for something like the Choreo Eagle Eye 2.5x. You guys will be taken care of right there. But overall, the jack glassless is my go-to. It's what I recommend. So this is my full SVA build. Now let's move on to our next gun. Next up, we're gonna be getting into a build here with the Uzi, aka the WSP9. This is a really hard hitting SMG. I really enjoy it. I think you guys are going to love this build. Super high mobility and very easy to be able to control. So let's get into it. First thing, muzzle, we're going to throw on that Zeman 35 compensated flash hider. Help us out there, a radar ping. But what we really care about is the vertical and horizontal recoil control benefits. That is basically the main thing for this gun. So that's why you got to have this on there. Underbarrel section, we're going to go through on the XRK Edge BW-4 hand stop. This is just a straight mobility thing, but what we actually prefer this over that DR6 for is because that's like my other go-to, is we get a little bit better ADS movement speed here at 12% as opposed to 6%. So when you're trying to really strafe around and when you have these attachments on there, I'm telling you, you're going to be gliding. This actually works out very nicely. So I'd recommend for you guys to have that. Of course, magazine section, we go through on the 40 round mag. Technically kind of like the SVA, you have a magazine of choice here, whether it be the 50 or the 40. For me, when I'm running around with the Uzi, I only just go for the 40 because it's not a super high fire rate gun. And I feel like the 40 works out just fine. But the 50 will slow down a little bit more, but it's still usable. So I'd personally recommend the 40 though. Now, optic section, we're actually going here. We're gonna add that jack glassless on because this is just an optic that's like kind of like the jack of all trades. It works so good for everything. And also because the Uzi has a little bit more of that kind of like that bouncy kick to it because it is indeed the Uzi. This actually does minimalize that, so it makes it very easy to be able to hit your shots even when you have a super high mobility build, which is what this is actually going to be. So we have that for our optic. Lastly, stock section, we're throwing the no stock attachment, in which, like I said, mobility, this is going to give us as much as we possibly can get out of this build. And I'm telling you, you guys for real are going to enjoy this one, especially if you're playing like Rebirth, trying to bop and weave around a little bit, Vandal, whatever it may be. Any resurgence, any map, you're gonna absolutely enjoy this. So this is my full build here for the Uzi. Definitely try this out. All right, next up here in our top 5 is gonna be the DG58 LSW, the long range LMG version, not the conversion kit. This is like the zero recoil, fully automatic gun you guys need to be using for real. So we have like, our SVA is our burst long range. This is our fully automatic absolute heater of a gun. Let's get into it. First attachment is going to be the VT7 Spearfire, keeping us off the radar, helping with our recoil control and bullet velocity and range. Great stuff. Definitely think you guys need to be running this attachment as opposed to some type of compensator. It doesn't need that. It's not going to move. This is probably the easiest controllable gun in the entire game. Barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go through on the Woody long barrel, giving us aim idle sway, bullet velocity and range, recoil control, and gun kick control. This actually already boosts us out to about that 1100 meters per second bullet velocity. Kind of like that SVA, making it feel very hit scan, making it so you can hit some shots at long distance. Doesn't have as great of a damage profile technically originally as the SVA. That's why the SVA is so good. You can extend it out to about 43 meters, whereas this you only get about 35. We're also not running high grain rounds, which kind of helps the SVA there quite a bit. Underbarrel section, we're gonna throw on the Bruin heavy support grip just to stabilize this thing out. No real other reason than that. This is just the try and true attachment. I know some people really like the Bruin pivot vertical grip, I believe is what it's called, and they say to use that over this. I don't really think you guys never need to do that. If it was really, really good, I would be using it personally, but it's not nearly as good as the Bruin heavy, so I just run this. Now, in the optics section, once again, that jack glassless. Really ain't got to talk about this too much. It's just pretty much the best sight in the game, so you guys should be running that. And then lastly, in the stock section, to stabilize it out just a little bit more, the recoil reduction butt plate, giving us gun kick control and recoil control here, which is pretty substantial at 19, 12, and 12% overall. Really awesome. Doesn't slow you down too much, but we really don't care about that. It's an LMG. It's not going to be the most mobile thing anyways, but this is my full build here. You guys need to use this. All right, now let's hop in here to the Striker, not the Striker 9. This is the regular Striker. This is an incredibly good gun. I don't think enough people talk about it, even though, because I think the Striker 9 kind of takes over, but this is still a heater of a gun, so we're going to give you guys the proper build for it so you can truly dominate. First thing, Zeman 35 compensated flash hider, pretty standard. This is a great attachment for a majority of our SMGs, so we got that on there. Barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to throw on the Striker Recon long barrel, not the Elite long barrel. This just slows you down way too much. This is actually pretty good on like the ground loot Striker, but overall, if you're building out the Striker, I mean, look, we get a plus 18, 18, and 15% here for our range. We only get a 13, 12, and 15% overall. We're trying to extend out our damage range as much as possible, and this thing's not going to have recoil, so we don't need extra recoil control benefits for having this barrel on there. It just doesn't make sense. It's going to slow you down more, and obviously you don't want to slow yourself down as an SMG, or you want to try to minimize that as much as possible, and that other barrel is not going to help us out nearly as much as what we'd want. Underbarrel section, we're throwing the XRK Edge. This is another case of we really enjoy the strafe speed we get with the XRK Edge as opposed to the DR6. This is a pretty fast gun as is, so we don't really need to worry as much about a little extra, I believe, sprint to fire time. We get 5% right here, then we get 8% over here, so it's not a huge difference. 105 milliseconds down to 108 milliseconds, almost unnoticeable, but overall this is great. You will notice the ADS movement speed you get. Ammunition, we're actually gonna go bolster this up here a little bit with the 0.45 auto high grain rounds. And this gives us out to 17.3 meters, making it so that you can run this, realistically speaking, as almost a sniper support, but it's gonna be a super mega effective SMG outside regular SMG ranges, because most of them won't be touching at 17.3 meters. So you'll for real be able to outgun people at a farther distance, when with a normal SMG, for instance, you wouldn't be able to do so. So the high grain rounds, really, really good. Lastly, magazine, we're gonna go throw on the 48 rounds mag. This is another instance of a gun that's not a super high fire rate SMG, so we don't need to go for the biggest magazine, which will slow you down way more than you really need it to. You should just go for the 48. This is more than sufficient for this gun. I hardly ever run out of rounds unless I'm trying to take down 3-4 people at a time. That is the only time I ever run out of ammunition when I'm using this gun. So this is my full build right here. Absolute banger. I absolutely love the Striker. And for our last build here, I want to give you guys pretty much the closest thing you can possibly get to like the Car 98 before. I think it actually does get added in here in Season 4. I'm seeing some leaks about that, but this is the XRK Stalker, and this, in my opinion, is the best sniper in the game right now. I'm not as much a fan of the Moras. I think this is much more consistent. So let's give you guys the best build for it that you can truly dominate with here on the game. Muzzle, what we're going to do is we're going to go in here to find a suppressor. We're going to be using, it's going to be down here just a little bit. My bad, I actually passed it. It's the Sonic Suppressor XL, but this keeps us off the radar and helps our bullet velocity and range, giving us almost 1,000 meters per second off rip, which is super good, and extends out our effective damage range. Keep in mind that effective damage range, that first stat up there you see, that is the one-shot kill potential for the headshot, how far out you can push that. So the farther out you can get that within like reason, I think there's an ammunition type that totally chocks your bullet velocity, but it pushes it out farther. This is like the better. So we definitely want to have this on there. Barrel, what we're going to do is we're going to go throw on the Fission 60 barrel, or efficient, whatever you want to call it. Basically, gives us a lot of bullet velocity and range, aiming out of sway, and firing aiming stability. A plus 24, 24, and 20% increase. Absolutely crucial here for making this thing real good. Definitely recommend you guys run this. This is your best like long range, build option. Now we're gonna go down to the ammunition side of things, and we're gonna throw on the .50 cal high grain rounds here to just extend this out even more. So we've extended this out now. When we take a look at the stats to 75.7 meters, that is now your longest distance in which you can get a one-shot headshot, which is perfect, especially if you're playing something like a resurgence map. I mean, that's gonna be really, really good. You can down people from a pretty good distance with a one-shot headshot. And otherwise, your bullet's gonna be moving at 1,340 meters per second. So it's going to be very easy to hit some nice follow-up shots and not have to calculate out bullet drop too much. So we really like those. Now in the optics section, this is going to be kind of a hidden gem in here. I'm going to show you guys. We have to scroll down a little bit more for this. I hate how there's so many different optics. It just takes forever to find something. But what we're looking for is actually this right here, is Heinrichter hybrid scope. So this gives you the option for a 3.7 and a 7 times magnification. So it's great for any and all scenarios, essentially. If you're trying to take someone out and with the 7 times, they're maybe a little bit farther out and they look real small in that 7 times, there's probably good, idea that you shouldn't be going for them because they're way outside your effective range. And same like the 3.7, I find it to be great when I'm trying to, take people out on top prison or on different areas of the map on Rebirth Island, since that's what I normally play. And I can zoom into that 7 if I'm trying to pop off some shots a little bit farther away. But overall, this is just a beautiful optic, super easy to be able to use, great clean sight. I really, really like it. Lastly, to round this gun out, we're gonna throw on the XRK Stalker Light Bolt just to help with our rechambering speed here. This gives you a plus 50% rate of fire increase. So statistically speaking, or just I guess unrealistically speaking, if you were to continuously fire shots without having to aim in or worry about reloading, you could get 75 shots off per minute, which is obviously a 50% increase over stock. So this really allows you to hit those follow-up shots pretty nicely. So this is my full builds here for the Car 98K. Definitely trying this one out. If that's my top 5, you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.